Welcome to the Emisarios Unidos de Luz channel. If you enjoy this near-death experience story, consider giving it a like and subscribing to the channel. Now let's start with the story. I had an NDE during the 4 minutes after a car accident. In those moments when my heart had stopped beating, rather than meeting Krishna or a Hindu god in accordance with my religion, I met Jesus, a divine being whose presence revealed the underlying truth of reality and of my existence, dismantling the assumptions upon which I had ignorantly based my life. I was reciting lines from the Bhagavad Gita as I drove home from the yoga school that I had been the teacher of for many years when a truck swerved into my lane. Krishna, I'm coming home, I thought to myself in that infinitely long moment before the impact. As the force of the impact rippled through my body, I listened with uncanny clarity to the morbid orchestra of crushing steel and breaking bones. The world then went black, and as I emerged from the darkness that immediately followed, I found myself awake again, looking down upon the form that had once been so seamlessly integrated with my sense of self, now seeming as though it belonged to someone other than me. Then, reality itself began to unravel as colors began to blend together and as sounds merged into a single harmony. From the vantage point of multidimensional awareness, I watched as paramedics worked with urgent precision beneath me, their movements seeming both frantic yet strangely graceful, as they tried to revive my heart. That zone between life and death seemed ancient but also new as everything pulsed with a very lively and electric energy. As my consciousness transcended the physical world, the mantras that once induced my connection to the divine became nothing more than meaningless syllables, replaced by the energy bursting forth from the very core of my being. Shedding layers of illusion as I ascended into ever higher planes of consciousness, I soon realized that my rigorous preparations over the years hadn't even scratched the surface of possibility, that they hadn't prepared me for the inevitability of my small, ego-based sense of self being utterly annihilated, to reveal the infinite magnificence at the core of being. The light revealed itself as a radiance that seemed to emanate from both within and without simultaneously, and yet it wasn't the divine light I had read about in the sacred texts or beheld in meditation, but rather something fundamental, something self-evident and unequivocal. What I experienced in the presence of the light wasn't the serene experience of enlightenment I had imagined, but rather a primal transformative force. Instead of seeing Krishna performing his cosmic dance before me, I encountered a pure, radiating presence, the embodiment of divine love in its most fundamental form. In the presence of the light, I felt both humbled and expanded as the light revealed to me the truth of reality, dissolving in its entirety, that which I held so dearly. The light then seemed to morph and consolidate into form, and that form appeared to me as that of Jesus Christ, yet it didn't appear as the Jesus I had seen in countless depictions. Transfixed as I looked deeper and deeper into the unfathomable universe within his eyes, I witnessed the accumulation of all human experience, every joy, every sorrow, every moment of enlightenment and despair. They weren't the eyes of a mere historical figure or of a religious icon, but rather, windows into the very essence of divine consciousness. As I looked deeply into his eyes, the once cryptic verses of Vedanta finally began to make sense, as our communication, grounded in the exchange of a shared purity, was based on the exchange of our soul essences and, thus, free of miscommunication. As I merged with the light of pure unfettered truth, the false constructs that enforced boundaries between religions, and the philosophical contradictions that had kept me awake at night were effortlessly resolved in that state of being transcendent of the boundaries of time and space. With those once abstract concepts now patently manifest in that state of holy communion with Christ consciousness, it became self-evident that the truth at the core of the Vedic verses was the very truth underlying the Gospels of Jesus. It was revealed to me that the religions and spiritual traditions were but tributaries flowing into the same divine ocean, and that no spiritual practice performed in earnest is performed in vain. I saw how my dedication to yoga served to integrate Christ consciousness in a way that shaped my thoughts and actions and transformed my heart, just as it does for those who tread the myriad paths with heartfelt sincerity. In all that I experienced in unity with the divine, the questions of my heart were answered, bestowing upon my heart and mind an indescribable sense of peace. I don't know when, but I remember the sensation of suddenly being slammed back into my physical form, every nerve ending tingling with electricity. I became aware of the scent of the hospital as I took in my first excruciating breath after returning to my body. As I became increasingly aware of the physical world, I watched as nurses rushed about checking my vitals. I watched as rays of ethereal brilliance penetrated the veil separating worlds, illuminating the room and the objects within it. As I struggled to integrate the two realities, every sensation carried new meaning, every moment full with what was once hidden. With unshakable certainty, I knew that I could never go back to seeing the world through the lens I had viewed it through prior to the NDE. My yoga studio has since become a laboratory for exploring consciousness. Even though I still teach asana, each pose serves as a segue for introducing and discussing deeper truths about the nature of reality in the yoga school. While some students embrace this evolution, Their eyes lit up with recognition as my words resonated with their own unexpressed insights. Others quietly disappeared, uncomfortable with teachings that challenged their assumptions about the nature of reality. My family members watched with growing concern as I spoke more openly about my experiences, yet every fiber of my being urged me to share what I had learned during the NDE. The yoga studio became a sanctuary for seekers ready to venture beyond the territories of conventional spirituality, and through the school I am blessed with the opportunity to witness students experiencing their own breakthrough moments, those precious instances when their understanding expands beyond old boundaries, and in their eyes, I see reflected the same truth that changed my life forever. Despite the challenges, I won't stop sharing what was given to me to share, as the world desperately needs bridges between ancient wisdom and emerging consciousness, between science and spirituality, between what we think we know and the actual truth. Speaking my truth has opened the door to a freedom I never knew existed.